Here we go. All right, welcome to With Your Mind in Mind. Today is June 10th, 2020, and today Lo is going to bless us with some of her experiences and feedback and her perspective on kind of mental health and what's going on in this shelter in peace moment. So welcome, Lo. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm glad we got to connect.
Me too. So Lo came very highly recommended by Julie, who is my right hand and left hand when it comes to social media marketing, digital marketing, and all of that. She's been a part of the team since last year, and she's like, "You've got to meet Lo. You're gonna love her. She's amazing." And I do love her, and she is amazing. So tell us a little bit about you and how all of this life, pandemic, racially charged things, how is it impacting your mental health? And tell us just a little bit about you.
Gotcha. I mean, we've been in this for what, 4 months now? Time, an interesting concept. It's been hard. It's been hard, especially when we look to social media for connection. There's a lot of things going on in the world that need to be resolved. And so when you get onto social media to check up, information is there, which is amazing. But sometimes you need to be able to take a break, and trying to find outlets in my home. Like right now we're in my studio, which I'm so blessed to have. So making music has been a big part of that. And I paint. And just trying to find things that I'm like physically doing in order to get my mind off of things.
So tell me more about music. So tell me about music you've curated. What do you play? Do you play instruments? Are you singing? Tell us a little bit about how music is helping you throughout this time.
Gotcha. So I am a singer-songwriter, but I'm also a producer.
Wow. Yeah.
Thanks. No, but I wasn't always a producer. I hung out around producers and worked with them. And my dad, he does audio engineering as well. And so I started to work in my setup, and it's been a lot more cathartic because I'm able to experiment with sounds. Mm-hmm. And there's actually a lot of properties of sounds that can be healing and that can kind of evoke certain emotions in you that you're like, oh wow, like I didn't know that I could tap into this place or whatever. So that's kind of been where I'm at in my musical journey, and how I want to help people and hopefully make them think more and heal.
Awesome. I love that. I love the comment about being able to tap into something different, because we are being inundated with negativity right now. All of the energy for me, and maybe it's just my algorithm and Instagram, but there's just negative story after negative image after, negative, right? It's very difficult to find a place of peace. And so I think it's cool that you have the ability to use music for that, and that we can. So tell me, how do we find it? Like, how do I hear some of the things that you've created? I want to know. We want to tell people.
Oh no. So you can find my music on my website at iamlomusic.com.
Okay. So that will be my homework before we chat again. I'm going to go and just completely absorb everything that you have on your website, so that I can, refer back out to that. Okay, so let's talk about the news. So give me some of your perspective on the things that are happening in the world right now. How are you? I know that you're using music to say, positively charged and that, but tell me kind of what are the things that you're dealing with right now based on what's happening in the world?
Gotcha. So in the music aspect, it's not just positively charging me, it's also allowing me to get out the sorrow that I feel, or the anger that I feel towards the things going on in the world. And what I would say is, oh man, It's been cathartic. It's been really cathartic. But I think that this time that we're in is almost like a renaissance in a way. Generations of thought are dying away, and we're taking on better and newer ideas and ways of thinking and ideals. And it's been beautiful to see people fighting. And I've tried to participate through social media and talking one-on-one with people. But man, with COVID, my fiance, he has a really bad immune system. So we've taken a step back, but without putting my exact location on blast. I live in the downtown area, and so the protests have been going on outside my window, and helicopters, and I can hear the flashbangs. I can hear people yelling. I can hear the rubber bullets, and that makes it all the more real, you know. And it's really scary. It's really scary that this type of force is being used against people who are just standing up for what they believe in. So that's another thing, like, since my location is so close to this, it's a little bit different of a dynamic. So being in the center of it, I feel that energy, and I've been trying to transfer it into my music and my craft, and just putting it into a productive place and trying to do that.
Yeah, I know several other people who live downtown. I actually lived downtown for a while until I guess 2 years ago. And it is very different. The energy is very different when you're right in the middle of it, when you can, like you said, you can hear what's happening outside. Yeah. I know that someone else that lives downtown mentioned that it was interesting to see how the media was covering these protests versus what she was actually seeing. And so I know that seems that's difficult to be. It's difficult because it's different. You're like, hey, no, I actually watched a peaceful protest, remain peaceful for a certain amount of time before certain things happened, right? And then it escalated. And so I know that that's probably very challenging for you as well, to look out your window and see one thing and maybe hear something else on the news or being portrayed in the media, right?
Right, because we have friends who are on the ground, and they've, documented and also told us, recounted what they experienced. And they're like, we were just standing there and they started shooting at us. And that's really scary. But I think that this time it's almost like a spiritual warfare that's going on in the world, where it's like these things, this has to take place in order for change to happen. Right. It's like you have to rip off the Band-Aid,
right,
to expose the wound, and that's applicable to so many aspects of life. But I think right now we're being forced to be with our thoughts, pay attention to things going on around us instead of the go mentality in our daily lives and routines.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's almost as if, from my perspective, as a Black woman, as a Black mother, a lot of the stress is that these things have always happened, right? A lot of this has been going on for my entire life anyway. And it's almost exhausting. It's almost to a point where you're like, this is not new. And that seems to be from my personal perspective. I'm like, this isn't new. Like, this has always kind of been playing in the background of the daily lives of so many people of color. It is refreshing to see that people are standing up. They want to do something about it. It's almost, though, at the same time, sad that it took something like a pandemic to get everybody to slow down enough to hear the stories of, some of the things that have been happening. So I will tell you, since we spoke before, the last time you and I talked, I read about Psychology Today. They did a post on LinkedIn about generational trauma and how it's passed down from generation to generation. And like there's actual data behind, even if we didn't live through slavery, it's genetically encoded into us from a cellular level. And so I went and had this long conversation and thread and come back and forth. It was very enlightening to see how people were like, I didn't make the connection. I didn't know that you could still feel something from 3 generations ago and still deal with that. So I love that people are very interested in learning more, because that's the whole picture. So you can take what's happening right now. I love the next generation's courage. And I've been that. Like I've been this millennial mentor. That was something way before any of this pandemic or any of these riots and things that were happening, because I love that the next generation, like you, are like, hey, we've got to rip the Band-Aid off. We got to do something about it. We've got to create change. So I commend you for that. Thank you for even being willing to listen, because a lot of people are still saying, oh, no, nothing's happening. Everything's fine. We just need things to go back to normal. So
no, I can't live like that, because we're not going to be able to heal. And like you said, this has been going on for eons. It's just now that it's being documented and we have social media to be able to plaster it everywhere. And I guess, like you said, now people are like, they're really having to pay attention. A lot of people have lost their jobs. They don't, so they have to see what's in front of their faces and act upon it. And I guess that's the blessing in this.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, to not try to make it unicorns and rainbows and confetti, right? But sometimes things have to get really ugly before people who work in the place of light and people who see themselves as healers. This is, in my opinion, it's our time. So I feel like personally, I've spent a lot of my life being that oracle, even in corporate America, right? Like I have an office and I have a job, and here's my job description, and you do these things. It's project based. But I've always been kind of that nurturer and that kind of mom and big sister or whatever. It's kind of cool that like now that's what people need. People need people like me, and so it's an interesting time. You say it's a renaissance time, but it's almost a relief to see that people actually need that positive reinforcement. People are now seeking that and going, Sherry, hey, can you help me deal with this situation? I'm like, absolutely. That's what I do. I love helping. I love healing. And I had probably gotten to a point, like you said, we were just busy going, doing, but I pulled away from that nurturer healer self, because there was no time for it. Like, I was too busy. So things have slowed down enough to reevaluate while we're here. I love that you said there's kind of that spiritual warfare, which means I've got to make a stance and encourage others to do the same. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being able to articulate that. That's important. A lot of people who are younger than I am want to know, how do we put these emotions and feelings to work to make change? And so even if it's via your creative side, I love that you're like, hey, I'm trying to put it into music and I'm going to produce others. That's amazing. I love that you're doing that. So
thank you. And I love what you're doing. You have a servant's heart. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. It's been interesting to be allowed to be that, right? And so it's so weird. It's like, I know I am that, and it's okay, right? And people are like, yeah, it's actually what we need. So it's tough, but I think one heart at a time. Like if we can have these conversations like one-on-one, I appreciate you being willing to come on and have this conversation with us so that we can share it with however many people will watch it. But I think your music is, for me, it's hope. So knowing that the next generation is able to connect with their creative selves and with their spiritual side to help bring healing, that helps me sleep at night. So I want you to know that. I want you to know that there are people like me who are willing to pull whatever is in your way out of it. Like, what do you need? If you need an opportunity, you need a platform, how can I make sure that you have what is necessary so that you don't have to live with the stresses and the frustrations that we did? So thank you for that. Like, thank you for even being willing to have this conversation for the show. I don't know if you understand how grateful I am for you, and your openness and your honesty. It means a lot. And so
Yes.
I want to let you know I appreciate you, and that I'm
Thanks.
grateful. I'm grateful.
I'm
Okay.
glad that you're doing this. It's awesome.
So what can I do? So what do you need? So I typically ask people on this, when they come on, like, what's the call to action? Now that we've met you and we've seen your beautiful face, and we can't wait for everyone to hear the music that you've created, what's like action items you would have people to do after they've seen this episode? What would you want them to have to do?
If they could, number one, please listen to my music. Please, for two reasons. Number one, I think that they'll feel empowered and find some healing there. But number two, also because when people listen to the music, it puts me higher up into the food chain of Spotify and Apple Music and stuff. So that really helps. And also to check out some mental health resources that I have used. BetterHelp, it's a virtual therapy, a website. It's really amazing. And checking that out, people, you get a week free to be able to do therapy, and it's really awesome.
Okay. Well, got it. So, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I think what I heard from you from the action items is to visit your website so we can listen to your music and find you on all of those platforms. We can support you there. And also make sure that we've got access to resources like betterhelp.com when we need that kind of coaching. I think almost everyone needs that. Like, we went from a certain group of people needing access to mental health resources to literally the planet. Like, everyone needs, right? Like, it's like everyone needs access right away. So BetterHelp is definitely one of those resources. And in full transparency, the reason that you and I are having this conversation is because we are working to try to deliver and create another platform where people have that opportunity to connect with providers from mental health perspectives. So hopefully the next time we have a conversation, we can say BetterHelp is an option, and also so is MediGuru, which is a provider that we're trying to partner with here at Phoenix Speaks and 2020 Live to offer this globally, to have people to have access around the world to providers in real time. So very similar to the BetterHelp platform. So fingers crossed. Hopefully
I'm excited.
And hopefully we'll be able to then bring you on board to have you help with the 2020 Lives movement. That's what I'm working on, like day in, day out, is just getting funded so that we can bring people like yourself on board and allow you to work in your gift and work in your purpose, and also eat, because we like to be able to.
I love food. I love food so much.
So it's like we would love to be able to make sure we could all eat and still be able to do what the universe created us to do. So I got it. So we will send people to your website. We will make sure that we will add, actually, I'm going to see if Julie can add your website to the link of resources on my Instagram feed and on my website, so people can reach out to you and find healing there.
I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we'll wrap up here. I want to thank you again, Lo. I'm excited to showcase and spotlight your work on our platforms, and I will record, send this recording to our LinkedIn group, which is my network. That's my comfortable zone, is LinkedIn. Shows you how much of a nerd I am, right? It's just like a cool place.
Awesome.
But hopefully then we can expose your craft to people who would not have found it otherwise. So
thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to talk.
Me too. Thank you. All right. Well, we will see you soon. Thank you.
See you later.